gorgeous face. You do some video with mommy. What are you smiling about? Look at cheese in the mouth. So this time I'm bringing in 2020. Yeah. Shout out to all the 2019 babies.
Little old videos. See my pregnant baby. They're my grandbaby. Hi, my grandbaby.
My sister talking to her first niece through the baby speaker that I bought. I don't know what she's saying, but they seem to be having a good conversation because I feel really calm. Now,
where is it?
Now, do you still want to know my secret?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Godmommy having a baby. See, you picked the secret. I mean, you picked the purse.
She's so shy. She for real.
I'm for real. Godmommy 11 weeks pregnant. Oh.
You excited, boo?
Would you like to say anything to your future cousin?
You have a amazing mom. Let's see. She's very, very nice, so don't do anything crazy. She will treat you. Let's see. You're gonna get a lot of stuff because she likes to shop, and our whole family likes to spoil kids. So, but don't be a brat. I think that's it.
Okay.
I hope you're a boy. Please let it be a boy. Oh my God. We need masculine energy around here. But yeah, I love you already. And we gotta find you a good nickname before you come.
Leave my baby alone. Leave my baby alone. That's what you get. No, now you on camera.
You been extra ready.
Now you on camera. Leave my baby alone.
Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. No.
So, now you on camera. Craig, leave it, stop! Leave us alone, no. Hey, Mama. Why you so cute, girl? Hey. Hi.
Mama big fat. Hey, girl, you so cute. Oh, you so cute. Hey, Mama.
Tell Mama everything, girl. Yeah. Then what? Yeah. Yeah. You done yelling at Mama? Huh? Yeah. 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 What else? Yeah. Yeah. I like those too. Yeah. Yeah. Mama like those too. I see your pretty smile. I see your pretty smile. Smile. Hi. Hello again to all of my curvy fashion forward dolls and my fashion forward dudes. How y'all doing? Welcome to another Coco's Couture Closet, home of all the trendy tips for plus size hips. I am Coco. This is Mimi, and this is my closet. 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 if you are new here, hello loves. I am so happy you decided to stop by. Please stick around, like, comment, and subscribe, and become one of Coco's curvy fashion for dolls or dudes. And if you are already a subscriber, mwah, it's great to be back here with you in the couture closet. Now, whether you are a new subby or an old subby, hit that bell below, guys. Pound it so that when I upload a new video,
You can be the first to know, so you can be the first to watch. Yes, honey, yes.
So in today's video, as you can see, I have an extra special guest, my daughter Malia. Say hi. Say hi to the camera, mama. Say hi to the camera, boo. No? Okay. My daughter Malia is going to take part in this video today. This is going to be a sit down and talk video, a sit down and chat. This is actually part 2 of my 4-part series documenting my experience with pregnancy. And so I decided, what better way to document than to have the end product right here for you guys to see. But yes, so this is going to be part 2 of my 4-part series. And in this part, we are going to talk about my experience during my second trimester leading into my 3rd trimester. And so I jotted down some notes because some very important things took place. Yeah, mommy notebook. Some very important things took place in my second trimester that I want to discuss, and so I made sure I jotted them down. And I also have my, I'm trying to stay organized. So I also have my iPad because there are a couple of different terms that I'm going to be using that I want to make sure that I get all of the information correct on. And so, but when I get there, you'll know that I'm there in the video. So like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on all my social media platforms listed below. Shop my Amazon shop, shop my Poshmark, and most important, go over to my Instagram, drcoco_curves, and follow and like some pics. You guys know I have a competition, a subscriber giveaway going on, and all you have to do is subscribe, hit that bell, go over to my Instagram, follow me on Instagram, like 10 pics, come back over here, reply done with your Instagram. That's it. That's all. I want to dedicate this video to a close personal friend of mine who just lost her youngest daughter. And so I want to send all of my love to her and dedicate this video to her and tell her that I love her. I'm not going to mention her name because I don't want to invade her privacy like that. But I do want to send my love in this video and tell her that although I couldn't begin to imagine how she's feeling, that my love is with her, and how much I love and appreciate her, and how much of an influence she was on my life when I was in undergrad at Central State. So I wanted to make sure that I noted that. Yes, mama? Yes? Okay. So let's get started with the video. And like I said, I have a couple of things that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is something I forgot to mention in the last video, and it's just the power of a support system. When everything happened with me and we had the miscarriage scare, and I was in the ambulance, I was not truly alone. My younger sister, my middle sister, her name is The Real Amazing Grace here on YouTube, but my younger sister, Mimi, she was on the phone with me from the moment everything started happening to the moment that they got me into a hospital bed and I could no longer talk to her. Yeah. And I couldn't, talking about your TT, and I could no longer talk to her because I had to talk to the doctors and they had to do the tests and run the tests and everything. But I want to send so much love to my sister because during that time I was a wreck, and she prayed with me and she talked me through everything because my husband was not there. He was in the car behind the ambulance and he hadn't made it to the house yet. Yeah. And she was with me every step of the way, and I love her so much, and just having her and having my support system meant everything to me. And so I love you, Mimi, and I did not forget, that you were there praying with me and keeping me calm and everything. I could never forget that, And so I did not mention it in my first video, and so I wanted to make sure that I mentioned it to, really the power of your support system during pregnancy, especially when you're experiencing a rough pregnancy, is everything. It's crucial to your sanity. It really is. And to keep you from moments where you want to just give up and quit and just not want to be pregnant anymore. That support system is what keeps you going. And so support is everything. So I have everything listed out and numbered. So I'm just going to kind of go down the list. So we got to hear my daughter's heartbeat for the first time. I got to hear my daughter's heartbeat for the first time. Unfortunately, my husband was not there because I actually was traveling back and forth from Iowa to Chicago once a month because I had an operation on my cervix in 2017. I had what's called a LEAP procedure, and basically there were polyps on my cervix that were in the growing stages to the point they were concerned about cervical cancer. So they wanted to go in and remove them, and so I had what's called a LEAP procedure. So I had been with my gynae for about 7 years. Prior to having the LEAP, I was with her for about 5 years. And so I wanted to stay with her. I trusted that team, So I would travel once a month back to Chicago to go to Rush Hospital to see my OBGYN team that was there. And so, yes, it was a bit of a strain on me, but I was comfortable with them. And so I wanted to stick with the team that I had for my surgery and the people who I had known for... the people who I had known for so long when it came to having the procedure. When it came to giving birth to my daughter, which you will find out further on in the video that didn't quite work out throughout the whole pregnancy. You'll find that out in the 3rd trimester video. But between... when I found out, so I started traveling back in April. So between April and August, I was traveling back once or twice a month. So during my travel back during the 12th week, they gave me what's called a genetic test. And so within the genetic testing, I'm skipping ahead, you guys. I'm sorry. So I got to hear my daughter's heartbeat. Let's go back to that. And throughout the pregnancy, I did not feel connected to this pregnancy at all. And it made me really sad. I was really depressed and I felt extremely defeated because I consider myself a very strong person. But I now know in hindsight what it was that made me feel so defeated, and it's the lack of control over your body and over your emotions that you have when you're pregnant. And that drove me crazy because I'm a bit of a control freak, and so it drove me crazy not to have control over my body and over my life and what was happening and everything I was experiencing. It drove me crazy. And so I, know now that she's here and, I'm past the pregnancy, I've had time to reflect on it and everything, that it was the lack of control that ultimately, brought me to a level of depression that had me scared. And I will share something very personal with you all, that within my pregnancy, I thought of harming myself. I thought about harming myself. I've decided to be completely transparent in this video, And so in doing so, that's something that I feel like I need to share. If you go to my Instagram, there are pictures of me posed on a balcony. That balcony is the balcony of my condo. And during my pregnancy, during the beginning stages, the first and second trimester, there were 2 instances where I thought about harming myself, and I might as well just outright say it, and jumping off that balcony. There were 2 instances where I thought about doing that, and it was once, and I said it to my husband. He asked me how I was feeling, and I was like I want to go jump off that balcony. And he was, really upset, and was like, don't say that, and but that's how I felt. And then I thought about it again, and that's when I realized that that was something to be concerned about. And so I reached out. My job, I had really good insurance, and so I reached out and contacted a therapist, and I began to see a therapist who I could, because imagine working a job that's extremely high in stress, extremely high stress job, going through a high stress pregnancy at the same time, and trying to hold everything together and hold down your household the way that you're normally used to. It can be a lot on a person. People think that being married and having the things that you want makes your life stress free, and it doesn't at all. And so there was two instances where I did, and that brings me to another point. When you feel like that, express that to your doctor. Make sure that you tell your doctor the way that you're feeling emotionally. It was on record. That way nobody can say that they weren't forewarned if something bad was to happen, that you're feeling like this. So I did express to my doctor the way that I was feeling, and they wanted me to go on an antidepressant, but I opted out of the antidepressant because my pride would not let me. Even having a degree in psychology didn't change the fact that my pride would not let me take antidepressants, and my need to show strength through this pregnancy wouldn't allow me to take the antidepressants. And so I reached out to a therapist, and I began to see a therapist at once a week, to discuss the way that I was feeling emotionally. I was under a lot of pressure at work. I was holding down the largest project for my company, probably to date. And, it was just a lot of stress going on. I was uncomfortable in my pregnancy, and it was a lot. And so, yes, I did, and I'll be completely transparent in saying so. So, when I went to the doctor and I heard my daughter's heartbeat, that for me just made me just fall in love with her. I still was uncomfortable being pregnant. I still did not like being pregnant, but I loved her, and that gave me the connection. You want to see mommy watch? Is that what you're reaching for? You can't eat it. You can't eat mommy watch, okay? You can't eat mommy watch. So, just be completely transparent with your emotions and everything that you're going through. So, week 12, I opted for genetic testing, and genetic testing basically is a test that they do through your blood work by taking your blood to be able to tell you the sex, to confirm the sex of your baby. What genetic testing also is it's a pre-screening to finding out if your child will have any genetic disorders. And so within the genetic testing, they test for Turner syndrome, they test for I want to make sure that I'm saying all of this right. They test for trisomy, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. 13. They test for trisomy 18, which is also known as Edwards syndrome, and trisomy 21, which is Down syndrome. So the genetic testing also tests for that. So we get the genetic testing. You're supposed to know within about 2 weeks the results of the genetic testing and also know the sex of your baby. So, and we wanted to know the sex. It wasn't like we didn't want to know or anything like that. So I opted for the genetic testing. And so we got the test done. I got the blood work done and everything. And like 2 weeks later, on my mother's birthday, so April 1st, I announced that I was pregnant. I chose to wait until I was out of what's considered danger zone, even though to find out further along that really week 22 is considered out of danger zone. And by danger zone, I mean the period to where you're high risk for miscarriage. Every few weeks it goes down to about 5%, and then after 5% it's like a 2% chance for the rest of your pregnancy. So I waited until week 14, which was considered technically out of danger zone, to announce that I was pregnant. I did a whole photo shoot. Me and my husband, I wore a beautiful red gown. I'll insert some pictures. You all probably seen the video and everything if you follow me on my social media. Then you saw the video.
Late at night when all the world is sleeping, I stay up and think of you. And I wish on a star that somewhere you are thinking of me too. Say the word, say the word. Say the word, we can rhyme. Say the word and we can ride around the earth and around the sun. Say the word and we can say, forget about that better place. And I know you're healing.
I walked to a song by Selena. I think it's called Dreaming of You. And it's the song that plays at the end when they do the remembrance of Selena at the end of the movie. I did my reveal to that song, and I had actually gotten the idea from Lyra Galore when she did her pregnancy announcement. She walked up this beautiful staircase and turned around and was pregnant. And so I did something very similar to that. And so everybody was excited. I was excited. I was so happy because I was finally able to share the secret, to share the big surprise that I was pregnant. And a few people knew already. My family and really, really close friends, my best friends, they knew that I was pregnant already. And so I was so excited that I finally got to share with the world that I was pregnant. And oh my God, I was ecstatic. And I felt beautiful in that moment. I felt beautiful. I felt, I felt amazing, to be honest, when being able to finally reveal, feeling like I was out of danger zone after everything that happened, with the miscarriage scare and everything. Feeling like I was finally able to reveal. Within the first trimester, you remember me talking about my acid reflux, and how severe it had gotten and not being able to hold down food. Well, in my second trimester, honey, I was eating up some stuff. Now, I didn't have any cravings throughout my whole pregnancy. Like, I didn't crave anything, but I loved to eat during my second trimester. I was eating up some stuff. My husband, I would be at work munching on some stuff, all day and just eating. Everybody wanted to feed me, and I was more than willing to eat. I used to love going home to Chicago so I can get my deep dish pizza because Giordano's was right across the street from Rush Hospital. Man, y'all, I was eating up some stuff during my pregnancy, especially more so my second trimester. My appetite went from 0 to 100 real quick. I really don't know why, but yeah, I have been taking my acid reflux medicine, and hey mommy, I had finally gotten control of my acid reflux, and my appetite just hit the roof. So we was tearing up some stuff, chicken. We loved us some Popeyes, honey. To this day, I swear my daughter knows the smell of Popeyes, because every time I'm eating Popeyes, she look like, I know you sharing that, right? But anyway, so yeah, my appetite, it increased a lot. And so like I said, after hearing her heartbeat, I just became really connected with her. And so I would read to her at night. I bought a fetal monitor, and basically a fetal speaker, excuse me. And basically I would put the speaker on my stomach, and I would play Mozart for her at night, and would play a lot of classical music. I would also play a lot of marching band music, and just at that point I couldn't feel her kicking or anything, but just knowing that she was there, like I would sing to her. We read a lot of books during her pregnancy. I would read to her. My husband's so silly. He would make up stories. He didn't read to her a lot, but he would tell her stories. Like he would make up stories off the top of his head, and I would be cracking up. These stories was hilarious, y'all. Like I wish I could remember one of them made me laugh so hard I end up spitting milk out of my nose. It was so funny. But yeah, so we read to her and we talked to her a lot. My mom and my sisters, they would call and talk to her and talk to me. My cousin Joya, she came out during my first trimester to help me clean up and get organized. She stayed for like a week, and just to help me, get used to being pregnant, because I was miserable, y'all, and so she came out to help me out. My grandmother would talk to me every day, and so your support system is everything. I cannot stress that enough. My family would call, and they would want me to put the fetal monitor on so they could talk. That's why you see my sister in the beginning of the video talking to my baby, because they would do that all the time. Like they would call to check on me and pray with me because I was having a really rough time, and then they would want to talk to the baby and let the baby, and she knows their voices from birth. She knew their voices. What are you doing, mommy? What are you doing? From birth, she knew their voices. And so, y'all, this is her sanctuary too. So she looking at all the stuff in here. Because soon as she start crawling, she gonna start pulling. And that's why I be securing everything down to the floor. So, where was I? So, yeah, my appetite, and we were reading to the baby and everything. I told you guys about the drive back and forth. I would play marching band music. We love Lauryn Hill. We love Michael Jackson. And those were, something. We love Tina Turner. And so I would play those songs, because I knew all the words, and I would be jamming, and just sing it to her because it's about a 4-hour drive there and back. So I would go there on the weekends, and I would work from the Chicago office the day of my appointment, and then just be out there for the weekend, and then drive back that Sunday. So that, and just being in the car and us bonding, we had a lot of bonding time on those drives back and forth. The problem with Rush was that I felt like I was being rushed. And let's talk about that a little bit. If you feel uncomfortable with your care, switch care. Because at first I was being seen here, and I opted out of that. By April, I was over being seen here, because I did not feel like they were paying attention to all of the symptoms I was having. And I had taken some time off work and I needed notes for that and statements from the doctor, and they weren't recording them. They weren't recording me calling and my constant visits to the doctor and, you know, everything that I was experiencing. They were not properly recording it, and I could have lost my job. I could have lost my job because of that, and so I immediately ended that care. And by week 12, I was going back and forth to Rush Hospital. Well, my doctor used to be, my OBGYN team, they used to be under Mercy Women's Clinic. It was a private clinic through Mercy Hospital. Well, Mercy Hospital is on the verge of losing its funding, so they're selling off bits and pieces of it, and they sold off the clinic. They sold off the clinic to Rush Hospital, and so those doctors were already working through Rush, but now they were officially under Rush. And so I felt like, you know, I was being rushed. I felt like I didn't have time to process information thoroughly. Yes, Mama? I felt like I didn't have time to process information thoroughly. I didn't have time to get everything off my chest, to ask all the questions that I needed to ask. I just felt rushed. I felt like Rush was rushing me. And so that would bother me a lot. That was something else that would bother me a lot. But because I was so comfortable with their operating procedures, I didn't opt right away to go to another doctor. And so that's what I would say. In your first trimester, spend that time getting comfortable and adjusted and choosing the right care for you, you know, because you don't want to be flip-flopping doctors all throughout your pregnancy. But find the doctor that makes you comfortable, because pregnancy is not easy. The last thing you want to be thinking about is the fact that you can't stand your doctor, or the fact that your doctor is rushing you and then you leave and you still have all these questions. So make sure that, you know, you're receiving the care that you feel like you need to be receiving for the pregnancy. So I spent a lot, like I said in the beginning, you know, I went through a really rough depression because of my lack of control of the situation, and I cried a lot. I cried a lot to my mom and my sisters. I cried a lot, you guys. A lot of tears were shed during this pregnancy. My depression, I went through a very, very harsh depression during my pregnancy, and luckily my support system was so on point, and nothing could ever replace them, you know, and them being in my life. I'm a stomach sleeper. I could not sleep on my stomach after the first mamas. Okay, it's down there now, boo. I could not sleep on my stomach after the first trimester. I just couldn't. It hurt, and so I found it very uncomfortable sleeping. I found it very uncomfortable to sleep, so I tossed and turned a lot. She was a sleeper, you know, in the mornings. So when I would be up at work, she would be asleep. And so when I would be trying to go to sleep, she would be wide awoke. And so that's how it was my entire pregnancy. And so it was very difficult for me to sleep a lot of the times. A lot of times I didn't get any sleep between the nausea and just the uncomfortable, trying to find which side I'm more comfortable sleeping on. I did not sleep well at all. Okay. I did not sleep well at all. So that was another thing, was my inability to sleep. I'm not really a sleeper. Like 4 hours of sleep a day and I'm good. Well, now that she's here, I be needing my sleep. But yeah, because you're a whole handful, mama. But 4 hours a day used to satisfy me. But now, you know, I feel like I be needing my sleep all the time. But when I was pregnant, I could not sleep. The sleeping was terrible. You know. And so that was another thing, that it was hard for me to sleep. I talked about, you know, me feeling depressed because of the lack of control. You have no control in your pregnancy. You have no control. And that was a harsh reality for me to face, was my lack of control. We talked about the pregnancy announcement, and so let's dive right into one of the biggest things that happened during my pregnancy. So like I said, I received the genetic testing. 2 days later was my mother's birthday, and I did the pregnancy announcement. No. 2 weeks later was my mother's birthday, and I did the pregnancy announcement on her birthday. It was her first granddaughter, and so I wanted that moment to be, you know, good to her. I wanted that moment to be special for her, and so I announced my pregnancy on her birthday. Well, the day after I announced my pregnancy, I got a call from Rush Hospital from my doctor, and they told me that the screening came back, and I had screened high for the possibility of my daughter having Turner syndrome. Now, the thing with the screening is that the screening is not an official stamp, yes, your daughter has Turner syndrome. But what it is that it tells you yes or no, your daughter could possibly have Turner syndrome. Now, I want to... Yeah, here, mama, because I think you're getting sleepy. Come here. What's up? What's up, pup? Yeah. Yeah. What's up, puppy? What's up, mama? You gonna sit for the video? Yeah? You gonna sit? You gonna sit for the video or not, girl? Huh? Yeah. Huh? Huh? You gonna sit for the video or not? Mwah, mwah, mwah. Hey, boo. So, I got the call that I needed to come back. I needed to schedule an appointment with my with the genetic counselor for Rush Hospital because I needed to have a amniocentesis done to confirm whether or not my daughter had Turner syndrome. So, Turner syndrome is something that's only found in females, and I want to make sure that I give the best definition of what Turner syndrome is. So I'm going to use the Turner syndrome symptoms and causes from the mayoclinic.org. And so what they... Your bonnet coming off, boo. So what the Mayo Clinic says is that Turner syndrome is a condition that affects only females, results when the X chromosome, the sex chromosome, is missing or partially missing. Turner syndrome can cause a variety of medical and developmental problems, including short height, failure of the ovaries to develop, and heart defects. Turner syndrome may be diagnosed prenatally, during infancy, or early childhood. Occasionally, in females with mild signs of Turner syndrome, the diagnosis can delay until teen or adult years. Turner syndrome may be suspected prenatally based on prenatal cell-free DNA screenings. Turner syndrome may show as large fluid collection on the back of the neck or other hey mamas, hey gorgeous, or other abnormal fluid collection, heart abnormalities, and abnormal kidneys. Signs of Turner syndrome at birth include wide or web-like neck, low set ears, broad chest, and widely spaced nipples, high, narrow roof of the mouth, high palate, arms that turn outward at the elbows, fingernails and toenails that are narrow and turned upward, swelling of the hands or feet, slow growth, cardiac defects, low hairline at the back of the head, receding or small lower jaw, and shortened fingers and toes. Now, when I got the call, I was devastated. I was devastated. The first thing you do when you hear things like that is you blame yourself. You blame, nobody can talk you out of blaming yourself, because in the end, this baby is growing inside of you. So you feel responsible for this. But there's nothing that you could have done differently to prevent things like that from happening. My family does not have a history of Turner syndrome, Down syndrome. No forms of syndrome is something that's present in either side of our family, and so sometimes these things happen. It's kind of, you hate to say it like this, but it's kind of a luck of the draw type of thing. But no matter how much people said that to me, it hurt. It hurt, y'all. I said I was not going to cry, and that's why she here, because I know that if I hold her close, I'm not going to cry in front of her. But I knew this was going to be the hard part to talk about, because it hurt a lot. I need not mess up my makeup because I got to do a whole nother video. So we not going to go here. We not going to go here with the tears and none of that. Okay. Because she here and she is perfect. So we not even going to go there. But it hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. And there was really nothing I could do, because I was all the way in Iowa. And as soon as that, and I had to make an appointment because I had to see the genetic counselor, but I also had to see, give me a second. I need something to wipe my face. So I need y'all to know I just poured the Wendy Williams and blotted these tears into my makeup, honey. We gonna use that as a glow. So, I was in Iowa, and so I had to make an appointment to see the genetic counselor and to have the amniocentesis. Now, I could have not gotten the amniocentesis and just waited until she was born. But who wants to wait that long? No, I want to know what's going on with my baby and what I need to do to prepare for, a life with a child who has a possible genetic disorder, so I opted for the test. So I was able to schedule everything for week 17. Mind you, we were in week 14. So I had to basically wait another month. Every day was hard. Every day was hard because you start Googling. And if you Google Turner syndrome, y'all, some of the craziest pictures come up and some of the most horrific cases of Turner syndrome come up, you guys. Like, I saw babies and adults with like really wide webbed necks and just, oh my God, y'all. It was terrifying to look at. It was terrifying to look at. It was terrifying to think about. So the day before I was scheduled to see the genetic counselor, I saw my doctor, my gynae, and this is something that I didn't like. She asked me, had I considered early termination? Because a lot of women do. When they find out that their children have, genetic disorders and everything really early on, they opt to terminate the pregnancy because of fear. And so, but it made me mad. It made me mad that she asked me before we even knew for sure. Like, we hadn't even had the actual official amniocentesis done yet to confirm whether or not she had Turner syndrome. I felt like that was a question that you asked me once we've had the test done. You know, don't ask me that, you know, and we don't even know for sure. This is just a screening. But she asked me, and that put it in the back of my mind. Am I strong enough? Am I strong enough? Is my support system strong enough? Is my marriage strong enough to raise a child with a genetic disorder? Is my need for control too overbearing to care properly for a child with a genetic disorder? Can I handle this? Is my faith in God strong enough to get me and my family through this, to raise my child with, you know, a genetic disorder? And the thought of early termination was then in my head after that. It was something that I was willing to not accept, but something that was in the back of my head as a possibility, thanks to being asked that. And so, you know, again, being completely transparent, these are things that I thought about. Is my faith in God strong enough for me to raise my child with a genetic disorder? Society is cruel. Society is cruel. Will my love be enough to get my child through everything that society is going to throw her way with her having a genetic disorder? Because kids are cruel. Society is cruel. You know, these are all of the things that I thought about. And I hated myself for considering, you know, early termination. I hated myself. I felt weak-minded. I felt weak. I felt defeated by this pregnancy. I felt emotionally lost at that time. I was still seeing my therapist. I expressed that to my therapist. I also expressed my unhappiness with my job and feeling like I was being, you know, not listened to as much ever since I announced my pregnancy, because I felt like, you know, my job saw that as a chance to make me a pushover and everything, because I was trying to control my temper. And, you know, usually I'm real cutthroat in my job, and I had backed up a bit because my blood pressure was high during my pregnancy. So I felt weak. I felt defeated. You know, I felt all of these. I think she's sleepy, y'all. I think she's sleepy. I felt weak. I felt defeated. I felt all of these things, you know. And so when we got to the doctor, when we saw the genetic counselor first, so I wrote down all of the questions that I asked the genetic counselor, because I felt like they were important questions to ask. Let me tell you guys something. No question is a dumb question. Take your support system with you. My husband, my mother, and my baby sister Angie were with me that for the appointment. My mother was in the room. My mother and my husband were in the room with me when I had the amniocentesis done. Nobody can tell you you cannot bring your support system. Bring your support system.
As I know the feeling, the streets stop breathing. I don't wanna
TJ. Hello. TJ. Okay.
I allowed them to ask whatever questions they had. We wrote down a whole list of questions because we wanted to know what was going on. And my family was like, we don't care. You know, by this time, you know, I had discussed with my husband, and my husband was like, you know, well, if, you know, if we do, you know, decide, you know, if you do feel like, you know, termination is an option, You know, don't beat yourself up about that. We can try again. We're young. We can try again. And, you know, it's okay, you know, to feel like this. You know, you're not a bad person because you feel like this. As much as you hear that, you feel the complete opposite. You feel weak and weak-minded for even considering that. And so, you know, we went into the office and we talked to the genetic counselor, and at one point the genetic counselor was letting the intern try to answer some of the questions, and I had to shut that down real quick because the intern was kind of lost, you know, a bit, because we were throwing questions left and right. We did not come to play about our child, you know. And the genetic, you know, you could tell that the intern was becoming a bit intimidated. So I shut that down real quick. I said, look, I have a master's degree. I know what it's like to be an intern. At the same time, this is not the place for fumbling and for making mistakes and, you know, for fumbling over your words. This is my child, and I need to talk directly to the genetic counselor. So the genetic counselor stepped in, and these are the questions we asked. First of all, let me just point out that the genetic counselor told me that there wasn't even 100% chance that my baby was a girl, first of all, and that the missing chromosome might be missing because my baby is actually a boy. So the test that we had to determine what the sex of our baby is, if I got pregnant again, I wouldn't do a genetic test. I will wait until my baby is old enough that they can detect fetally what the sex of my baby is. I am very anti-genetic testing. I would never do that again to myself, my family, or just, no, I wouldn't. And I would not suggest that anybody do it. Nope, I wouldn't, because you telling me that my child is a daughter, when I go to the hospital, they telling me that they don't know, you know, whether my baby because it's so early in the pregnancy, it's a chance that the missing chromosome could be missing because my baby is a damn boy. So I told them I don't want the amniocentesis done yet until they confirm that my baby is a girl. So they did an ultrasound first, and they were able to determine, well, no, they did an ultrasound, and basically because they were, so let me back up because I'm stumbling over my words. So the woman was like, okay, we can give you an ultrasound and make sure, you know, that your daughter is a daughter, and then, you know, you can have the amniocentesis done. If it's a son, then there's no need to have the amniocentesis done. So first of all, that completely blew my mind. Like, I was heated at that point, but I kept my cool and I continued to ask my questions. And these are some of the questions that I asked. I asked, let me see. Let me go back. Okay, really quick before I go into the questions. Like I said, never go alone. Don't let what you see on the internet scare you, because it will scare you. It will scare you. No question is a dumb question. Fear of the unknown is common. Do not beat yourself up because of fear of the unknown. Try to wait till week 20 to have the amniocentesis done, and you'll find out further in why I say that. So when I asked the questions, one of them was, if you're not 100% sure my daughter is even a girl, can you test me for the disorder? How can you test me for a disorder typically found in girls? My doctor told me I was having a girl. However, the genetics counselor said that it may be a chance that she is not a girl, and that's why we cannot, you know, that's why we don't see the female chromosome. Well, I told them, okay, so I want to be tested for, you know, I want to make sure my daughter is a girl before I go through with this amniocentesis. So she said, okay, they'll do the ultrasound, you know, and everything. Well, when I got into the room, what she didn't tell me is that because of my weight, they may not be able to see my baby's sex until week 20. Depending on the position of my baby, they may not be able to tell my baby's sex until week 20. Week 20 is the absolute week where they can determine the sex of your baby and it be actual, it be correct. It be 99% correct anyway. So, but she didn't tell me that. So when I got in the room and they did the ultrasound and stuff, and I asked, well, can you tell me the sex? He said, no, because you're not 20 weeks. And number two, you are heavy. You're extremely, you are overweight, and because of that you have a lot of fatty tissue that can hinder the results from being as accurate as they'll be in week 20. What you can do if you want to is not have the amniocentesis done today and wait till week 20 so we can confirm your daughter is female and that the amniocentesis is absolutely necessary. Y'all, by this time fire is coming from my head. How? What? I just drove all the way from Chicago on pins and needles, and now you want to tell me to go home and wait longer? Are you stupid? Like, I felt like the genetic doctor was he was a foreign gentleman, and not saying that all foreign people are disconnected emotionally, but this foreign doctor, he was very disconnected emotionally and didn't care about how I felt or what I was going through. He was in there to do a job, and that was it. And that was not okay. That was not okay. He made me feel very uncomfortable and very, just not cared about during that test. So I told him, no, I want the test done. I'm all the way here, and I'm not about to go home and be sweating bullets for another 3 weeks to come back out here, to find out. Let's, do the testing. So, find out, ask the question, are you too heavy for a early detection of your baby's sex? Ask the question. What does Turner syndrome look like in black babies? My child is an African American girl. I want to know, is there a difference between what it looks like in black children versus Caucasian children versus Asian children versus Native American children? I want to know. What happens if the amnio comes back positive? Basically, they said that you have the right to abort the pregnancy up to 24 weeks, or you become high risk and you have to go to weekly doctor's appointments, which means at that point, I would have to move to Chicago for the duration of my pregnancy so that I could be seen weekly, if I ended up, she tested positive for Turner syndrome. How long do I have to decide if I want to proceed with the pregnancy? Like I said, that's 24 weeks in the state of Illinois. Now, it's different per state, so know your state, because in the state of Illinois, it's 24 weeks. Does the baby having Turner syndrome affect the mother while carrying? No. Does delivering a baby with Turner syndrome become more difficult? No. They were more worried about the fact that my cervix was smaller and whether or not they would have to stitch my cervix closed, because when I got the LEAP procedure, they told me that could be a possibility during pregnancy, is that they would have to stitch my cervix closed so that I didn't lose the baby. Are there doctor-recommended programs and support groups for parents and kids with Turner syndrome? Yes, there are a lot of them. What happens next if the amnio comes back with no Turner syndrome? That's it. Your baby has no genetic disorder because she tested negative for nothing else popped up. So if she didn't have Turner syndrome, then that would be it. We will proceed with the pregnancy as normal. What was the purpose of the first test if it's not 100% accurate? So basically the test, the first test is not a test, it's a screening. Yes or no. Possible, not possible. That's it. It doesn't tell you yes or no there's a possibility. It doesn't tell you yes or no it's accurate. And your baby has a disorder. It tells you if there's a possibility based on your blood work that they see the possibility of Turner syndrome. The problem is that you're so early within the pregnancy that the female chromosome may not have fully developed that. So it is a chance that you won't see it. There began to be doubt on the purpose of the testing from myself, my husband, and my mother and my sister. My husband has really good health insurance, and it became a point where we felt like they were just trying to milk the health insurance and with this amniocentesis, because everything was flip-flopped everywhere. And that's why I don't recommend the genetic testing, because I feel like it's a milk for insurance when you can just wait until week 20 to have to know the sex of your baby, if that's all you want to know. Now, if you don't opt for genetic testing in week 12, they don't do it. They only do it within week 12. After that, you find out postnatal. So keep that in mind also. Do I have to be alone when I have the amniocentesis done? No, you do not. What does the healing process look like from the amniocentesis? It happens, so you might bleed a little bit, and like a period, like a really light period, and you have to keep the area that they nick, that they go in through. You have to keep that completely clean and sealed off and cleaning everything. But that's what the healing, and it lasts for about a week with the amniocentesis. It was something else that I wanted to say about, the amniocentesis also brings the possibility that they may burst your fetal bag. There's a chance that you can lose your baby in trying to find out what's going on with your baby. Yes, they could puncture the sac, and you could lose all the fluids that are holding y'all. So y'all can imagine what's going through my head right now. I'm in tears at this point. So, am I fully sedated for the test? No, you are not. They offer you local sedation, which means they numb the spot that they're going to stick, but they then have to stick right on top of where they stuck the numbing in. So I opted for no sedation. I opted for no numbing, no anything, because I didn't want to be stuck twice in the same spot. What is the percentage? I asked, what's the likelihood of my next child having Turner syndrome? If I have more children, they said that almost no possibility that your next child will have Turner syndrome if your first child does. What percentage of babies die at birth? It's very high. Babies with Turner syndrome have a high risk of not making it through the whole pregnancy, have a high risk of dying within the first year of life. It's very high. It's very high. What all did the test screen for? I told you guys in the beginning the different genetic disorders that were screened for during the testing. I will, tell you guys again very briefly and try to give you all a brief So other than Turner syndrome, the baby is also screened for trisomy 13. It is a rare chromosomal disorder which all or a portion of the chromosome 13 appears 3 times, trisomy, rather than twice in the cells. Some affected individuals, only a percentage of the cells may contain extra chromosomes. Edwards syndrome, also called trisomy 18, low birth weight occurs, abnormally shaped head and clenched hands are all things that occur. It's very rare and fewer than 20,000 cases in the U.S. per year. Then you have trisomy 21, and that is Down syndrome that includes a wide range of developmental delays and physical disabilities caused by genetic disorders. Down syndrome is a genetic disorder caused when abnormal cell division results in extra genetic material from chromosome 21. It's a common disorder, and more than 200,000 cases in the U.S. have been, diagnosed. Now, the amniocentesis is a procedure in which amniotic fluid is removed from the uterus for testing and treatment. Amniotic fluid is the fluid that surrounds and protects a baby during pregnancy. This fluid contains fetal cell and various proteins. Although amniocentesis can provide valuable information about your baby's health, it is important to understand risk of amniocentesis and being prepared for the results. Like I told you guys, the amniocentesis did run the risk of me possibly losing my baby in the process of testing, because they could have punctured the fetal bag. They could have punctured where my baby I'm losing my words, but you all know what I mean. They could have released amniotic fluid that my baby needed to survive, and in turn, I could have lost my daughter trying to protect and, find out what's going on with my daughter. So it does run its own set of risk trying to be proactive. So just keep that in mind. So the procedure for the amniocentesis hurt. I'm not even going to lie. First, they did the ultrasound, you guys. And when they did the ultrasound, we saw my baby moving. She was kicking. And I knew at that moment, like, no matter what was in the back of my head about whether or not I was strong enough to handle my, a child with a genetic disorder or whatever was, doubt I had in the back of my mind, went out the window when I saw those little feet kicking, when I saw her cross her legs, when I saw her just moving. She just seemed so happy, y'all. It just, oh my God, I had never felt like, because when I found out about, the possibility of her having Turner syndrome and how babies, with Turner syndrome a lot of times will lose their life during pregnancy or postnatal the first year, I kind of disconnected again from the pregnancy, and I wouldn't go shopping for clothes. My friend was pregnant at the same time. She would want to shop for clothes and stuff for the babies, and I couldn't, because of the hurt that I was because I was afraid of hurt of possibly losing her. And because of that, it disconnected. I forced myself to be disconnected from her. I stopped reading to her. Like, I basically was walking like a pregnant zombie from the time that we found out the possibility until we found until we knew the results. Because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to feel. I felt lost in my own emotion, to be completely honest. And so, hi my booty, hi my booty, hi booty. I shall sleepy. I know I shall sleepy. Need to get some sleeps. So, well, the amniocentesis, so after we had the ultrasound and everything, I asked my husband, I said, did the ultrasound make you feel more connected to the pregnancy? And he said, I've been connected to the pregnancy this whole time. And I just felt, I'm sure you can imagine how I felt. being the one carrying her and not feeling connected. But it happens, and that's why I'm making this video, because it's real and it happens, and I'm being as transparent with you guys as I possibly can, because a lot of people don't, out of fear of looking weak and feeling like they'll be judged. And nobody can judge me but God. And so nobody can judge you either but God. And just remember that. Yeah, so beautiful. I love you. I love you so much. You know that? You know Mama loves you? Yes, I do. Yeah. So basically what they do is, my mom and my husband were in there with me. They lay you out and they clean off a certain spot. So he does the ultrasound to find the best place to go in for the procedure. And if you can picture a wire hanger unraveled and just a straight, like a wire hanger before it's bent and turned into a hanger. That's what they stick down into you. And they stick it right through your stomach.
Reasons we should forget about this place, but I don't wanna leave here if you're just gonna stay. Changing like the seasons, been wasting all this time. Should be like satellites cast beyond the sky. Leave our fate for another day. Riding these horizons, we'll find our way. We'll leave our fate and fade into the night. Just follow me to paradise. Just say we tried. Say the word and we can run around the earth and around the sun. Say the word and we can stay. Forget about that bloody maze. And I know you're healing, 'cause I know the feeling. The streets stop breathing. I don't wanna let you.
Stomach, and it hurts like hell, and I cry and it hurted, and I think that I might have some video footage to insert, because I knew that I wanted to make this vlog. And so if I'm not mistaken, I have footage of me prepping for the procedure, and I cried, but it happened, and I did it. And my mother and my husband were there in the room with me. My sister and my husband were there during the ultrasound. And I walked out and I felt lost, you guys. That's the way I felt. I felt extremely lost. And I felt confused, and I felt I was tired. I felt like, God, what else could possibly go wrong? Why is my body fighting so hard against something that it's meant to do? I couldn't understand it. I've been able to have so much success in my life, but I'm having so much turmoil with my Go to sleep, Mama. I love you. I love you. I'm having so much, difficulty with my pregnancy, and it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. And I just kept, I was angry. I was angry, and I was like, people have babies and they don't even deserve those babies and do those babies horrible. And you hear all those stories about how people do their children, and I would never do that to a baby. Why am I having all these problems? I would never, harm my baby or do anything to my baby. Why, is this so difficult? And so we left, and my mother and my sister and everybody, they tried their best to make me feel so comfortable during the procedure and during the questioning and everything. Here, mamas. I'm getting sleepy, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. During the testing and everything, they really did go above and beyond to try to make me feel comfortable, and I love them so much for that. And so 2 weeks later, I was at work, and I was working late, and I'll never forget, I got a phone call from the genetic counselor, and she was like, Mrs. Reed, and I was like, yes, this is she. And she was like, this is your genetic counselor, such and such and such. And my heart fell through my underwear. Like, that's the best way I could tell you guys how I felt when she told me who she was, because 2 weeks had passed and I hadn't got a call yet. And I'm like, okay, if they don't call by Friday, I'm going to call, because we moving into the 3rd week now. And so she called and she said, I want to let you know that everything came back normal. Your daughter, you're having a daughter, and she does not have Turner syndrome. Everything came back perfectly normal. All I could do was cry. Because, and I'm not going to cry now because, number one, I don't want to mess my makeup up again. And number two, because those tears were tears of joy, of happiness, of just feeling a certain amount of relief that I hadn't felt the entire pregnancy. And yeah. Andrea Boo-Boo. That I hadn't felt the entire pregnancy. And I was so happy that I ran into my boss's office, and I was like, because the depression had really hit me hard, and it was affecting my work. I wasn't coming to work on time, and it just wasn't like me, none of that. And so my boss sat me down and was kind of like, what's going on? And I had to be completely honest and tell him everything that was going on. We had that type of rapport to where I felt like I could tell him. So when the results came back, I burst into his office, and I was like, oh my God, everything came back fine. The test came back. The results are fine. She doesn't have Turner syndrome. And this was in April. And so he was very, happy for me. I went home and I told my husband, and I called my mom, I called my friend. I just, and a lot of people, some of my closest friends don't even know that this had happened. So they're going to see this, and they're probably going to be pissed because I didn't tell them this and that I didn't confide in them as a support. But it wasn't that I didn't trust them. It was just that I didn't know how to feel, or, it was hard to even constantly discuss, let alone sit down and tell, all of them, what was going on. Everybody was so excited. I didn't want anybody to be disappointed, And so, I went home, and me and my husband, we celebrated. We were so happy and so thankful. All I could do was thank God, and then things didn't get better at work. I was under an extreme amount of stress. They expected me to still work to my top potential, even though I was going through a lot with my pregnancy. And my boss at the time, my big boss, not the boss, my direct boss, but my big boss was, excuse my word, an asshole. And he thought that he was going to talk down to me and talk over me because I was making a conscious effort to not stress myself out. And one meeting happened, and he called himself trying to check me about something that I knew that I was right about. And when it turned out I was right, he didn't apologize. He didn't, say, but he never did. But for some reason, this time, it just hit me differently. And I just ran into the bathroom, and I just started to bawl uncontrollably. I felt so disrespected and just so belittled by him on a call with so many of my peers and everything, for him to turn out to be wrong. And so I called my husband. I said, I can't do this. I said, I cannot do this and not stress and keep my blood pressure low this entire pregnancy. I gotta get out of here. I was like, I'm leaving and I'm not gonna come back. I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. And my husband was like, babe, come home. Put in your notice and come home. So I did. I put in a month notice and I left my job. 5 months pregnant, I walked away from the best job financially, the job that I spent 7 years in logistics working to get to, the salary that I had only dreamed of coming out of, when I was coming out of grad school. I walked away from it. I walked away from it all. And that's why I'm going to cut the video off here, because we go into my 3rd trimester next. And it didn't get easier, because now I have the weight of the fact that I just left the job that I worked my ass off for. I walked away from it and I felt defeated and I felt miserable, and I just, I was so deep into my own thoughts and my own mind. And I just went back to work in December. At a different company. I didn't go back to the company that I was with. And a lot of people didn't know that. Nobody really knew that, except for like a good 10 people in my life. Maybe less than 10 knew that I walked away from my job. But and people were still calling to borrow money and, asking me to do this and do that and travel here and travel that. They're not knowing that I don't even have a job anymore, because I was too embarrassed to say that I quit my job, that I had moved all the way from Chicago to Iowa for and relocated me and my husband for. I walked away from. So she's asleep, and so I'm going to end this video here. But I hope that my transparency in turn is a light, a beacon of light for another woman who either is experiencing similarities or who has questions that they feel like aren't being answered. I'm not a doctor. I can only tell you what I know and what I experienced and what I researched. But I hope that in doing so, it's been helpful. I love you guys. Continue to like, comment, and subscribe. Support your girl. Like I always say, bring your mama, bring your sister, bring your auntie, bring your cousin, bring your gay uncle, baby. Heck, bring your baby. Because we got room. And there is always room for curves in Coco's Couture Closet. I'll catch you guys later. Bye, guys. I will tell her to say bye, but she's sleeping. We'll go give her to her dad so I can record my next video. Bye, guys.